All right, so welcome to the KapilCodeHub. So today I'm showcasing you on one of the important aspects to saving your cost using the S3 bucket lifecycle. How we are proceeding it? So let's come to the screen, which gives me information about the storage classes. So what are this meaning? Okay, what are why we using this thing? So I will be give you brief information about that. Now when you moving down, so there you see that option shows me like all the storage classes we mentioned over there. In this tabular formula, it will give me all the information which we required basically to be understand about the storage classes. Okay, so now let's talk about the standard. Okay, now we will be starting from the standard storage bucket. Okay, now in the standard, you see that standard basically when we are using standard when we work with the. So when we using a standard when we require to use for my this application, like you can say by default my which whatever the objects that I am putting on it, all are be keeping into the standard bucket. Okay, so we have a standard bucket with here. You see the standard. Okay, now in the standard, if I read about the information about that, you see that it gives you information something like it is general purpose that we are generally using this class. And the latency, you see that its latency is a millisecond. Okay, whatever the data we get it in a millisecond data. Okay, latency period. So now let's talk about the other aspects of this standard bucket. So let me okay, so there you see that about the durability. Okay, so durability means that it's be availability, that the data is be available for up to 9 time 99.99 11 time 9% availability. Moving down, so it shows me availability. There it gives me SLA. Okay, so and the availability zone, this is a one of the important aspects that this particular object, this particular class, we have a three availability zone, so we can use based on that requirement. Okay, then if we don't need to pay anything for minimum storage duration charge, and neither we not to pay any retrieval charge, and this class will be work in the life cycle transaction. So that's be clear to be understand about S3 standard. Now let me coming to the next class. This is called S3 intelligent tiering. Now what is the meaning of S3 intelligent tiering? What it does? Okay, what is the main role of this class? So the main role of this class is basically, okay, so let's say we assume that we don't know about the objects, we don't know about the objects duration, that how many days objects we keep it in our existing S3 bucket. Okay, so on those basis, if you doesn't know about your objects, do you know that how frequently that you are accessing, okay, you completely doesn't know about anything regarding that time duration the objects we keep in the S3 bucket. So for those perspective, we are be using a S3 intelligent tiering. Okay, so S3 intelligent tiering, what it does? So basically, S3 intelligent tiering, it will be implementing a monitor system, Amazon Monitor. Okay, so Amazon basically what it does now, Amazon monitoring our objects about their data, like their time frame that when we have used last time. Okay, and based on that, how frequently we are using the data. So based on that, it will be design a life cycle. So now we are not designing; everything is taken care by the Amazon side. So what will be happen then? Amazon keep their data into this bucket, then shifted this data to from this bucket, this class to this class, which called as standard infrequent access. In this, why it's be shifted? Okay, so then after some time it will be the data will be shifted to the Glacier instant retrieval. Okay, so basically it will be play like this thing. Okay, after this thing we have to mention a step that either after some days where my data will be gone, the data will be put it into this thing. Okay, so now first it shifted to this intelligent tiering, then it shifted to the infrequent access, then a Glacier instant retrieval. The main thing is why it's shifting in this between, why it's not shifting into this thing, I will let you know about it. So the S3 intelligent tiering. Okay, the first thing is we need to notice the latency period. Latency period means that we get a millisecond. Like latency, what is the meaning of latency here? It is latency means that when we fetching the data. Okay, when I am accessing the data, so that is called meaning latency. How soon I can able to access the data. That is called a latency. Okay, so in all the three classes, whichever the transaction we occur, so all I have a same latency. So it doesn't issue on an end user, right? So whenever we require, the data is be available for us. Okay, so what are the things that be differ for all the three classes? Now we just to be notice that, so it has availability remains same, SLA remains same. So what are the main thing we differ? Even the availability zone also be differ same. Okay, so what are the main differ? Main differ is about your minimum duration charge. So if the data, if I'm using this storage class, okay, and there if anything be there, so then I don't need to pay anything to the Amazon extra. Okay, it doesn't matter that if my data be there in this class with the what 1 day, 2 day, 5 days, 7 day, 30 days. Okay, but when it shifted to my one but when Amazon shift my data from intelligent tiering to standard infrequent access, then I have to, then Amazon charge to me at 30 days. This is the minimum duration charge. Okay, so mean that now, so if suppose that if I have a data into my this my data move to this particular class, then and suppose that just access the data. Okay, before that, so I need to be pay to this number. Okay, whatever GB that I am retrieving, so based on that I need to be paid based on the 30 days. Doesn't matter if I am retrieving earlier. The same thing. Now this, whichever the data will goes, it goes for if the data I'm not using for a 90 days. Now all those things will be managed by the automatic, so we don't need to worry about that, because Amazon on their side, they will be forecasting the objects, which object that you are be using for last couple of days, then it will automatically shift the data to this date, then it will check the this thing. Okay, so they, we don't need to worry about this case if we're using an intelligent. So now let's to be cover about the Express One Zone. This is the third class. Okay. Now Express One Zone, basically this is the most this is a high performance storage class. Now there you see that the why, because the request we are getting in a single digit milliseconds, not a double digit, where it's talking about millisecond. So this is the high performance. If we need to access my data, availability, obviously its availability is less compared to other instances. Why? The thing here it is availability zone. So in the Express One Zone, it doesn't give an option to that we can able to choosing a multiple zone. We can keep our data into multiple availability zone. So for that, I have to be keep it by all the things in a single availability zone. Okay, this is the reason, that's why we are using a, okay, and even the retention period for this data, it's also be a 1 hour. I have to be keep, if I'm using this instance, okay, if I'm using this storage class, then the data should be there for at least for 1 hour. Okay, now, so this part is be clear to you. Okay, I have already communicated to you infrequent access. Now this one is one zone infrequent access. So what are the main difference here? So all are may remain same. What are the main duration is duration charge be increasing. It's up there we are using 1 hour. There is be 30 days. Okay, so I need to be paid on the 30 days. I will be clarify later on to you. Okay, so now this is be clear. Now you understood about the standard classes. Now let's to be talk about the Glacier. In the Glacier, you see that the duration of the first we see about the availability zone. I have all the three Glacier classes has a three availability zone. Okay, so we don't need to worry about the data availability. It means the data will be available for us. So the time of duration will be increased. So this is 90 days, this is 90 days, and this is 180 days. Okay, I need, this is a minimum duration charge that my data should be existing. So now let's move it. So what is the main difference between these two things? The main difference is of latency, like how fast we are able to access the data. So when I'm talking about this thing, so there we are getting a data in a millisecond. But when it comes to using this class, then the data will be getted to me in a minutes or in a hours. Sometimes it take hours. So basically we are using these kind of instances just to storing my backup. Okay, so storing my application, storing my backup. So because see, as we are going down, as we are going moving further, so the hosting part will be decreasing. Okay, and basically the storage class we are using when we are keeping a data not in a MBs, not in a, okay, the more than GBs data, or even might be in terabytes data. Okay, those cases we are be using a storage classes. So now this data we take latency period goes to hours or minutes. But if I'm using this class, when I'm using this class, so I'll give you example for that. So okay, just giving a example for you guys. So in an example, I suppose that uh, earlier, like we used to watch our movies, right? So we used to download the movies, and whenever we required, so we can just store the movies in our pen drive or in any physical device. Or another example we can take it up in case if you're in your birthday videos or any kind of videos which you, and so that kind of videos everyone is already watched, like your family member is already watched those videos. So, like where we doesn't require an urgency that we require this thing at this time. So those kind of things, those kind of objects we are keeping into these buckets, into these classes. So what will be happen, this will be reducing the cost of me. Okay, this will also protecting my data additionally. And one third thing is because I don't require immediately, because suppose that if I'm planning that, or if my mood is changed that I want to be view, or I want to play my birthday video of my 10th birthday, 11th birthday, or any of that. Okay, I'm just giving an example to you. Then what I will be doing in the morning, I will be click to download. So and the end of the day, that video will be downloaded and it's be put it in my system. So on those cases, we are using these classes, okay, a deep archive, because this may takes time to be downloading any data from their side, because the minimum duration charge is 180 days here. That if, because obviously if I have already watched the 10th verse, they are not be frequently watched, right? So obviously once in a year I am watching those movies or watching those videos. So those, or even we can not about videos, even those kind of objects, those kind of data which we are not using, or just for compliance perspective, or we are having some confidential data which we are not using regularly, or which we use on a once in a year, or you can say your ITR. Okay, any of the stuff that you can use this bucket for that. Okay, there the retention period goes to 180 days. Okay, so minimum I need to pay to the 180. Now I'll give it a little bit more clear picture to you guys to be understanding about this a minimum duration charge, how it works. Okay, so suppose that we are designing a life cycle of the object, okay, based on the storage classes. Now in the storage classes, suppose that I have mistakenly choose this one. Okay, I have chosen this storage classes for my, I've just uploaded one image. Okay, and mistakenly I have used this storage class. So and using and keeping this storage class, I'm uploading bunch of other images, and the size will be goes around a 1 GB. Okay, so now in this case, but the thing is, now I am using those images on a weekly basis, like every 7 days I'm using those images. Okay, so every 7 days I'm using those files to be do any kind of operations. So in this case what will be happen, so in this case if I am every week I'm using, mean that I'm using a 7 days after that. So but in this case Amazon charged to me for 30 days. Doesn't matter that either I'm keeping a data over the 30 days or not, but Amazon charged to from my side for a 30 days. Okay, so this is always we keep your remember one thing, whenever we are designing a storage classes, whenever we are keeping using a storage classes, whenever we are designing a life cycle of the object, then we always we make sure that to understand about that the object's retention period. Okay, so this is super important guys to be understand about it. So in this video I'm not giving you practical that how the function will work, how the we are defining the storage classes life cycle. Okay, so those things I'm giving you an upcoming video, because if I'm covering all those things, so this will be coming a very long video. So obviously Okay, so those parts I am covering into my next video, so please stay tuned to that. And if you have any doubt, any question, and if you think that uh, you are not yeah, like to watching this thing, still you have any confusion, you can let me know about this. You can put your message in the below of my video. Okay, thanks all, thanks for watching this video. And also please subscribe this my channel KapilCodeHub. And also please share this video whoever be interested, whoever is starting to learn the AWS course. Okay, so in this entire video I am covering our entire AWS points with explanation, with the easy to understand. Okay, all right, thanks everyone, thanks to